Broadcasting from our subterranean studios in beautiful Paradise Valley, Pennsylvania, it's Business and Brain Tumor Talk, a unique show with topics to educate, inspire, and implement. Without further ado, here's your host, Rick Franzo.
Thank you, Amanda, and welcome everybody to another episode of Business and Brain Tumor Talk. A real pleasure today. We have Linda Schiaffino, the CEO of Coach Business Solutions, here with us. Thank you so much for your time, Linda. How are you?
Fine. Thank you, Rick. Thank you for asking me to join. I'm doing very well today. How are you?
I'm doing great. So we're going to start off with a little bit about Linda, how long you've been doing this. Tell us about your family. Tell us everything that we all would love to know.
Well, I started Coach Business Solutions at the end of 2022. I've been fondly called the fixer by several business owners, so I figured it was time to spread a little joy with other businesses and help them. So Coach Business Solutions, the naming comes from both what I hope to do for our clients, and that is to coach them towards great goals in their finances and their HRs. But also, I have a long-standing obsession with coach purses, so it kind of married a couple of important things for me. So, yep, Coach Business Solutions has been in business for about 3 years now.
We have something in common. I am obsessed with Coach baggage as well. Not really. And so that's so interesting. And we're both coaches. So, and I can say to all the listeners and viewers out there, Linda is the fixer. She absolutely helped me greatly with my books. And during a transition from my former bookkeeper who was very ill and teaching my wife how to do my books. So she's phenomenal. And so without gushing all over her, tell us a little bit about your family, Linda.
My family consists of my husband, Alan. We've been married 40 years this year. We have 3 children. Our oldest is Lauren. She lives in North Carolina, and she is a VP of operations for a pharmaceutical company.
Nice.
Our middle child, Devin, is also in the pharma service agency world. She's a project manager. I'm not sure what she's not a project manager. She's project director. I'll never get this right. But more importantly, she is pregnant with our first grandchild, who is due in October. So we are very excited about that. And then our youngest is our son, AJ. He is a cardiac rehab specialist, works for Lehigh Valley Hospital. And he is the baby of the family, although he is just celebrating his 30th birthday as well.
Wow.
We have 2 pups.
Yeah.
2 pups who may make an appearance somewhere in this call. Penny, who was adopted from Puerto Rico last October. And Lillian, who is our 13-year-old queen of the family.
Yes, absolutely. We work for our pets, right?
Yes, sir.
We're their servants, absolutely. Congratulations on your first grandchild, correct?
Yep, our first one, yeah.
May I ask, boy or girl?
It is a little girl.
Oh.
It is a little girl. We had the baby shower.
That's so nice. Awesome.
Yeah. From the final countdown now.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's always family is always first. And speaking of that, talking about HR and bookkeeping and everything else, a lot of business owners get in that trap of trying to wear too many hats and doing too many things themselves. And quite frankly, that doesn't work out very well for the long term. And so that's where you come in. It's fractional HR, fractional CFO. So what are some of the things that you identify when you go in and you're given a referral or someone asks for your services? What are some of the things you do to qualify where they are, and how do you meet them where they are and get them from point A to point B?
Well, it's important for me to understand what is their tolerance for their involvement. Do they want to be involved in terms of monitoring their accounting? Do they want to have somebody on site that is going to be, let's say, entering transactions and just doing the day-to-day work that's so crucial? Or are they pretty much hands off? They're not sure what they need, and they need some guidance on the next possible steps. So typically, more recently, the business has been coming in that is new startups. So they really are fresh. They have no understanding of what they need. They're not really in very good hands in terms of their tax situation or their tax strategy. So I look at their books. I have some really in-depth conversations with them to understand, how, if possible, am I the person to help them? There are, chances that I might not be the right person for them,
Mhm.
but then it's my intention to help them find the right person. I don't want to leave anybody in the lurch. We don't start out, if we're small business owners, unless we are an accountant or an HR professional, we don't start out with that skill set. And so it's important to know people like Rick who have contacts to help them overcome those obstacles. And, I like to use the term with some inspiration here, to get them back to business, to getting them back to what they love to do.
It's so it's so hard for a newer business, the same as it is for a business that's been in business for a lot of years, to actually see things as they really are, see the forest through the trees, so to speak, and know that there may be some gaps in their process, or for somebody who's been in business a long time, they may not want to give up the control of having somebody do their books or to show them how to do it because they've been doing it a certain way, and it may not be the best way. You like being a connector, so you connect people with CPAs and other professionals that can help them. But businesses that are small, they don't have the wherewithal to have a bookkeeper on staff a lot of times, unless it's their office manager. And HR, my goodness, large companies have HR departments, but if it can be fractional, that helps
Mhm.
them scale a little bit better and answer the questions that they don't realize. So, speaking for me, I have good books, but they're simple, right? And still can get out of control. I don't want to have to. I know how much money I have. I know what I have coming in, going out. I know what my P&L is, but I don't want to be involved in the day to day. So I leverage that off, right?
Right.
Some people. Did I just hear a puppy in the background?
Yes, I apologize.
No, no, I wanted to say that. No apologies. They really are so integral to our lives for sure. And so when when somebody is a little bit uh, not willing to give it up, what is usually the way that you address that? So it's usually a business that's been in business for a long time. New businesses are kind of hungry to have somebody show them the ropes, so to speak. But
Right.
what is it when you have somebody that's been in business for a while and they're just not getting it?
Well, I would like to find out from them if they want to maintain, and I prefer that they do maintain some control. But I would like to find out from them, what is the next phase of it. So you have somebody who's taking care of your books, or you're taking care of your own books, and speaking for the accounting side of Coach, are you getting the information that you need to possibly discuss with your tax preparer, your CPA? Are you looking at your books mid-year, third quarter? Are you looking at a potential tax situation at the end of the year that, if you discussed it in the middle of the year, you'd be able to put in place the strategies to mitigate that? Maybe investments in the business or preparation for a tax liability at the end of the year. It's often in those conversations that we can move from the transactional data to the strategy of what is the best plan of attack for the business going forward, and then wrapping up the year cleanly and starting the following year on the best possible footing, because now we're empowered from day one, and now we see the benefit of looking at our financials every quarter, every mid-year, to make a determination. That's where it's helpful that there's a 40-year accounting degree behind Coach Business Solutions that can help have those conversations with the business owner, to empower them to have those conversations with their CPA.
So you've been doing this in a lot of different ways, maybe in a lot of different forms for 40 years. You've actually worked with some very large corporations, some nonprofits. Tell us a little bit. You're very humble, so I got to pull this out of you. So, some of the organizations, you don't have to name them by name, the nonprofits that you work with, maybe, and what are some of the things that you've helped them with?
My career started out with a small company on the North Fork of Long Island. It started out as the bookkeeper and grew to the controller. And during that time, finished my accounting degree to kind of wrap things up. We moved from Long Island to the Poconos 28 years ago. And at that point, I started as, I think it was the cost accounting supervisor for Patterson Kelly. I was there
Mhm.
for a couple of years. Spent some time at the Da Vinci Science Center as the director of finance and administration.
Mhm.
And prior to launching Coach, I was the CFO and the director of HR for an AV company that is no longer in business in the Lehigh Valley. They had a headcount of about 75 people there, and I brought on about 100 people throughout the 6 years that I was there. But it's in those different. One was a manufacturer, one was a nonprofit, another was an integrator. You really learn the ropes in terms of different forms and different corporations that need different applications of accounting, whether it's project based, whether it's inventory based. There's learning in every one of those that I'm finding somewhat accidentally has been helpful in scaling down to smaller businesses that are not, over 30 million. The nonprofit experience is very helpful because it's a different type of accounting. So we all have to be stretching our wings and exercising our brains. Never stop learning.
Never stop learning. And that's why when we refer to Linda on social media, the hashtag is Ask Linda, right? That's really what it is. And so you have 40 years behind you of experience. And so, how helpful is it when a business maybe is evolving into retirement or succession planning or maybe just selling the business or handing it over to somebody else? If they don't have the proper systems in place, their valuation goes down
Right.
quite a bit. They really don't know what they have, or many times, which I've seen, and I'm sure you have too, they have an inflated sense of how much their business is worth. And
That's right.
really, so they think it's worth X amount, right? And then they're like, well, it's worth this amount. And they're like, well, how can that be? Well, they don't have the systems in place. They don't have, what you're buying actually is maybe a tertiary book of business, and that's it. There's nothing more to it, and so especially if their overhead is low and they don't have a lot of equipment, so they're not, a service where it may be like a shop or something like that. It may be more like a service like you or I provide. It has a certain value to it, but how do you go about that part of the process as a coach? And so we have similar strategies, you and I, but how do you explain the value? I know that we work with a lot of the same clients and our mission is the same. Our outcomes are all like lockstep with each other. So how does that work when you're explaining the bookkeeping and the HR side to them where I'm on a whole nother, topic?
I think, and it applies to a lot of almost everything in our lives. We have to understand how what we are sharing is landing on the other side of the table. And so in that example, if I'm the person who wants to buy that company, if I'm looking at a sloppy set of books, if I'm looking at, a people situation in that company that is an absolute wreck, I'm going to reduce the ask of my offer because I know that I'm going to have to do a lot of work when I pick this up. And so we take it from that step. And a lot of the times when I'm working in HR, I often tell the client, I'm coming from a lawyer's office here. We're having a meeting of discovery for someone having filed an employment claim. And we start from that point backwards. Like, how do we mitigate the issues that are possibly going to come up in advance of them coming up? So preparation is absolutely key. Awareness is importantness. And then what we have to understand here is, are we presenting a package that we won't have to keep negotiating for the sale price on this? The numbers are the numbers, right? There's always going to be a multiple of revenue that we start the conversation with, but then as if you were buying a home and you thought it was worth $500,000, but it's got a lot of problems. It really is a handyman special.
Sure.
There's negotiating down that has to happen there, because people are going to have to put investments into making it livable. And so it's those conversations, always bringing in partners that are better suited to really have the more in-depth conversations. And it presents a team approach to helping that company really move on, sell their business, and end up where they really had hoped they'd be years and years ago.
So it really takes a village, right? And
It
that's
takes a village.
yeah, absolutely. Switching from the side of bookkeeping and the financials to from fractional CFO to fractional HR, what are some things that maybe companies don't realize about some of the things that could be burdens for them or some hidden dangers?
Compliance is a big issue, especially for larger companies that might be more on the radar of certain governmental entities. But in the end of it, if you are not presenting a face to your team that is welcoming, is properly trained, we have robust onboarding, we have an engagement that shows the team that they're valued. A lot of one of the biggest assets in most companies is their people. And people see immediately if there's not an investment from leadership in their involvement in the company. So how can we work on that? Various fractionals will encourage surveys. I think we've all heard of surveys that are sometimes not confidential. So we
Right.
can't really rely on that. But we start from the ground up, right? So if I'm working with a small company, you've got to have an employee handbook, and it's got to be welcoming. It can't be adversarial. It can't be, it is a it's a legal document, but we want to take the tone and approach that this is a welcome to a team that they should be happy they've joined. And then policies and procedures, you must have them in place depending on the headcount of the company. And then we want to start talking about the next phase, onboarding and training, benefits, and how to really keep your team happy. Happy people make the job of ownership and leaders easier. And sometimes on my teams, I've told them, you make me look good, and that makes me happy. So it is a team approach. So there's a lot of involved conversations with the teams, with the owners, with the frontline managers, and communication is key.
So on both sides, there is changes. Things are rolled out every year for the financials, of course, right? Which I don't even know how folks like you and CPAs keep up with all these new tax laws and things and these new criteria that you have to abide by. But it also comes out in the HR realm as well. And so it's not just about handbooks and everything else. It's about health insurances and a lot of these. Both of these really lead to or can lead to, if people engage with you, to better retention and keeping the people that you have, taking care of them, hoping that you're providing a good enough culture that they stay. And these are all culture builders and everything else, right? And so,
Exactly.
what would be a really good client for you? What's your dream client besides me, of course? And so, we can't use me. This is your show.
Well, a dream client. They have somebody on staff that is going to be that transactional support, whether it's a bookkeeper, whether it's an office manager who's handling the payroll. There's a lot of paperwork that's pushed in offices that is in the hands of unsung heroes. Um, that's probably an easier path for me to step in on a strategic and executive level to bridge the gap. So maybe they're looking at things that they don't really understand, and so they can't explain them clearly to leadership. And so that's where I step in, and I can help that transactional person feel better about what they're working on, give them some tools and support, empower them, but then also empower them to be that liaison internally that often is somewhat of a more trusted day-to-day participant in the conversations. And then really engaged leadership, that they understand what is needed. They respect and are wise enough to bring in outside people. I often say smart people ask for help. And then they really work with them to make the right changes or the right moves to keep the business moving forward and keep it growing and really increase profitability.
Perfect. I think as we kind of wrap it up. What is one specific thing or two? I'm going to give you a little latitude that you feel that business owners should know about Coach Business Solutions.
I am here to help and support. I have their back, and I know what I'm doing, and I'm here for them.
That really says it all. That is amazing. Linda, thank you so much for being with us today, sharing your background. And how can people get in touch with you if they do want to go and engage you for HR or for fractional CFO?
They can reach me at linda@coachbizpa.com. My website is www.coachbizpa.com. My phone number is 570-994-6311.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And, blessings to you and your family on the birth in October of your first grandchild, a daughter, which is great.
Yes,
Awesome.
thank you.
Happiness to everybody. Thank you so much for your time for joining us today. And thank you out there for your time watching this episode of Business and Brain Tumor Talk. We'll see you next time. Stay gold. Peace.